All right, so here we have the wonderful, the awesome Brian Hooks with her. Thank you so much, Brian, for taking this time. Thanks a lot, man. How you
Thank
doing?
you for having me. Thank you for having me. I'm good, man. I'm, hanging in there, trying to stay safe and keep things pushing, moving forward, man.
Well, that's the key, right? I mean, this has been a rough year for Hollywood, for
Yeah,
everybody in general. I mean, let's not just say Hollywood, Hollywood included, the great equalizer, as some want to say it. Although I guess people get affected in different ways. But it's been hard, right? But there's people like you who are not just working themselves, and I thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you because you inspire me because it's hard to just keep doing something for yourself in this time, but you are taking this opportunity to not just work for yourself but do something great for the community
right.
and give back. And I mean, that's so awesome, man. Congratulations and
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
So do you want to, talk a little bit about, before we get into more nitty gritties of this wonderful initiative that you just started with the Left of Bang Entertainment, your production company?
Yeah, Left the Bang Entertainment is my new company, and it was brought on by me just coming to a crossroads in my life. And it was me looking at myself and asking the question, what else? You know what I mean? What more is there to do? And how do I take what I'm doing to the next level? And I became a Rotarian at the Santa Monica Rotary, and their motto is service over self. And
Wow.
I was so inspired at the level of goodwill and kindness and the humanitarians that live there and they just give selfishly that it just all came to a head to where it's like I got to do more. And so I committed to no longer just making films to make films. And everything that I do from this point moving forward will have a social impact attached to it. So it's entertainment with social impact combined. And I do this by reaching out to inner city youth and at risk youth and allowing them to be a part of the Hollywood magic. So the idea is to get them on set and allow them to mix and mingle with stars and be inspired and understand that, their future isn't limited to their sometimes bleak options that they have in their surroundings. Because a lot of these kids are joining gangs and drifting to the wrong path because they don't have any other options. The number one reason or number two reason that these kids join gangs is because they want a sense of belonging. They want a sense of family, and they'll seek that out no matter who
Right.
it's with. So we want to be that other option, and we want to allow them to be a part of this Hollywood magic and be that family option for them, mentor them, push them, allow them to, learn the trades of filmmaking. And maybe they fall in love. And if not, maybe they just fall in love with the idea that, you know what, if I can be a part of that, I can be a part of anything. And we'll usher them to help support them in any field that they want. Because at the end of the day, what I always say is given the opportunity to choose between shooting guns and shooting movies, these youth
Right.
choose shooting movies every time. And
Mm.
so that's what the company is about. Left to Bang Entertainment. And again, that bang represents that action moment in a youth's life where they decide to commit a violent act, join a gang, anything that pushes them to the wrong side. We want to intercept them and get them left to bang and keep them left to bang and pushing towards a very fruitful and prosperous future.
Right, right. And that's so wonderful, man. And seriously, you're so right about that because I mean, a lot of people end up on that path because there is no guidance,
Yeah,
and our business of storytelling, gives you an opportunity to express yourself, and
right.
that's I mean, a lot of time these violent acts tend to be just a way of
Yeah,
expressing yourself,
yeah,
especially when
yeah.
you're youth, when you're young, when you do not really know.
Right,
We have all been there. We have all made mistakes, whatever they are, but we have
right,
made mistakes, right? And we were fortunate to have some guidance to be here, right? So I
right.
really appreciate you. I really admire what you're doing. Do you want to talk a little bit about how has it been for you yourself, as you've been in this business for long time. You've worked successfully in the business, which is amazing. But how did this entertainment business, the storytelling art, impacted your own life and brought you where you are?
I think it just opened me up to a whole new world. I was born and raised in Bakersfield, California. It's a very small town, and there's no opportunity for entertainment or anything like that. But once I left off to go to college, that's where I found myself in the epicenter, one of the epicenters for entertainment, Los Angeles. And so all of a sudden, entertainment was at my reach. And so I feel like coming from a small town and 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 uh and the things I was always, the funny guy, always the one in class with something to say, always in the talent shows, but there's only so much you could do from that small town. But once I got to Los Angeles, everything was sort of out my helms, and I just sort of hit the ground running and just start touching things and trying things to see what worked and see what didn't. And in addition to my, mathematics major in school, when I wasn't doing that, I was focused and running and trying to figure out this whole entertainment thing.
Hmm.
And a buddy of mine was also in film school there at Cal State University in Northridge. And he approached me, and it was on the heels of my movie Fat Beach. And he approached me to do an independent film. And so we would do this small independent film for like $13,000. We finished the movie. It was absolutely horrible, but it was 90 minutes and it was funny. And so we licensed this film to Xenon Entertainment. That $13,000 film went on to make $800,000. And from there, we found a little niche, yeah, to where we could sort of exist and control our own destinies by making these modest budget films that were making great returns, and sort of found a little space for myself. And that's really how, would catapult me to into that space and where I am now, because independent filmmaking has sort of been the foundation for everything that I've done.
Right, right, and that's such an amazing. That's another reason, I'm such a big fan of your work and you, because I was excited when it's happened to talk to you, because this business is hard, man. Right?
Yeah,
We everybody knows this is hard for everybody,
yeah,
and as I was saying, joking earlier, like as we, but it's a fact. If you're not a white male in this Hollywood system, it's even harder because the
yeah,
system,
yeah,
just like our society, is built uh, for us to not succeed.
yeah,
I feel it's just not. I mean, it's just built that way, just like the society itself, right? So you have to break that barriers, and you found that opportunity of and I think it's also a little bit of miscommunication or misunderstanding of the system, where you're like, oh, I got to go to the studios, or do this, or
mhm,
now it's like maybe I got to have like millions of Instagram followers or whatever that is, and that's the only way of people like looking at this, or it's like I'm just gonna be like, or I'm gonna have no food to or
right,
I'm gonna live on the bits. But there is this unexplored market where there is ability to make money
hmm hmm
and be successful by telling stories, because people want those stories.
right,
And as you said, quality, I mean, is important and good, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment.
yeah,
As long as you're entertaining people and people are seeing people like you and me on screen, and we're able to see that, I will watch it. It doesn't
yeah,
matter, like
yeah,
and our community has that expendable dollars,
hmm
and they spend it. So can you talk a little bit about like that niche that you were talking about, like how have you um, tapped into that, or just like for new filmmakers, if you can give a little bit of that, because that's just such a fantastic thing. But I said what you've done, I know, in all kind of people are called the king of DVD, right?
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
I admire that, because you found a niche to be able to make money in the business, right? 13,000 makes 800,000, because
yeah,
it's possible. And most of
yeah,
the people are thinking, hey, I got to put like, I need to make a movie. I need to get like somehow $500,000, $1 million, because indie films are like 10 million, $20 million
yeah,
now. That's
yeah,
what
yeah,
your Indie Spirit
yeah,
Award is, like $20 million.
yeah,
And then they're getting Oscars. So or a new filmmaker is like, I got to get on that money, right? So you got a little bit, and then it has to, if you make $1 million movie, it has to make $10 million for it to be
right,
profitable. So you're
yeah,
already like
yeah,
setting yourself up for failure. So can you
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that?
and I think that goes back to the system, how you say the system is set up. And the system is set up in a way to where, the quote unquote typical, Hollywood system to where you're going to fail.
Right,
Because what you're going to do, if you're an independent guy and you invest this, you find, you go for years trying to raise money to shoot your film, and you raise this $1 million, $2 million, and then you make this film and you take it to the studios, and no one's going to give you $2 million for that movie. And so you sort of set yourself up for failure. And that's that myth, because people have heard like, oh, such and such did a film and then they went to this festival and they got $10 million for a movie. Well, yeah,
right,
maybe when it was, um, Brad Pitt was the producer of the film, you know what I mean? So there's those little things that happen that you don't realize. And
right.
also, like you say, you spend $1 million and then if you don't make 10, then it's considered unsuccessful. And the reality is, as an individual filmmaker, you can't really operate like that. Now is an ideal time because it's just such a great independent time because of the digital wave, and there's so many outlets. So you can now go and be smart and make a small contained film and make it well, and you can monetize off that film in so many ways. And as you were saying, you're feeding a niche market that's starving for content. So no matter how
Mm,
many, ethnic or urban films that we make, it's never balanced out with the mainstream films that are made. So when you're in that space and operating, you are always going to have an audience looking to receive and consume what you're doing. And with the technology, cameras, software, the playing field has been leveled to where, again, you can make a very small contained film, but make it look very, very, very well produced. And it's just a matter of you doing your homework and taking the
mm.
steps to get there. And even with finding good crew, you can't really say, well, I didn't have the money to find the crew. There are thousands of people who want to be DPs, thousands of people who want to direct, thousands of people who want to light, and it's your job to go and find these people and say, hey, look, I want to make films. You want to make films. We don't have a budget, but if we all come together, we share an ownership of this film. And like every Sunday, we're going to knock out a day if everybody's working, or every weekend, or whatever it may be. There are ways to get it done. With Q the
Mm.
movie, the one we did for 13,000 and made 800,000. Again, we didn't make a great film. We just stepped out on faith.
You keep
We
saying that,
yeah,
man. Come on, it's not
we
that
did.
bad. I've seen worse films for a lot more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, but my point is we didn't know it all, and it
right,
wasn't
right,
perfect, but we stepped out. We stopped planning it. We stopped talking about it. We stepped out on faith, and we did it, and it
right.
opened the gateways to so many more things. So you have to figure out a way to get it done. It might not be ideal, but again, Q, $13,000 made $800,000 and really created a foundation to me to where I can exist with my independent filmmaking, and I can stop, start, go, spin around whenever I want to. And that freedom is invaluable in our business. And so you should always, always, always be looking to figure out how to get it done independently.
Wow, yeah, that's so true, and so well said and so inspiring. I mean, that's the key, and I feel, as you said, the technology and everything, it's
Yes.
so much
Yeah.
easier. But it's people like you who, and unfortunately, I feel like even as much as I love Netflix and Amazon and everything, they're back at like they were supporting indie filmmakers, but now I feel like they're again like have become studios,
They sort of
basically, right?
scale.
Because they're
Yeah.
spending $300 million on a Martin
Yeah.
Scorsese movie,
Yeah.
then the indie filmmakers of the world who are able to go and get something, it becomes harder because there's only this part, right? So
Yeah.
but you're saying what that's so valuable, where you find your niche, find
Hmm.
your audience, and make the content,
Hmm.
get it out. So
Hmm.
it's work,
Yeah. And there's a
and
lot of
that's what you're doing.
platforms now. There's always the next Netflix and the next Hulu and the next this. There are platforms now. So and you can't get caught up on, in the labels, so to speak, to where you feel like, success is landing my film on Netflix. No, there's a number of other digital providers
Mm,
that can get your content to the audience. And the audiences now, they don't care where it comes from. They want to see what they want to see, and they don't care if it's on Digital's R Us or wherever it is. They just want to consume the content that they want to consume. So there are so many outlets for filmmakers now. It's the best time to be an independent filmmaker. And I think, again, as you aspire to do these studio things, your plan, which you control, has to be this independent path to making your film. Now, if they step in the process and say, hey, come do this with us, that's great. But
Right.
don't sit around waiting for them to green light you, green light yourself.
Right, right. That's so true. So on that note, though, do you have any plans like that yourself for Left of Bang Entertainment? The next thing, getting into platforming, and because you're already out there with the youth, and but pretty soon with your guidance and with the wonderful people that you're bringing in as well, they are going to start making films,
Yeah,
right? So, and anyways, you're passionate about storytelling and getting the stories out in this next chapter, so to say, of your entertainment career and journey. Is that what's next for you? Are you thinking about platforming, or
I have a
what's
lot of
where's your head at?
yeah, I have a lot of people who approach me who want to start platforms, who are starting platforms, and this, that, and that. I don't have any plans at the moment because,
Mm,
again, I feel there's so many platforms out there. So my thing right now is just taking advantage of that. And I used to do, 2 or 3 movies a year, and I got away from that, but now I'm getting back to that. And that was sort of, pushed on by the youth. During this pandemic, I was at Weekly staying connected to the youth in my Left of Bang program and just keeping them abreast on what was going on with me, staying in tune with what was going on with them. Because if we were suffering as adults, imagine, a youth who's trying to
right.
deal with this pandemic. So I wanted to make sure they had access to me and just to share their thoughts on what was going on. And as we spoke and as we talked and as the suicide rate went up through the roof, I was like, you know what, I have to take action. If this is the new normal for now, it is my job to figure out how to navigate through that. And that's what I did. And I went out and made this film, Adam and Eve, which is a love story, a straight drama about these two people who meet, fall in love, and find out that they're soulmates, but their questionable past starts to creep up, and it sort of prevents them from moving forward and living happily ever after. But
Mm,
that was let me do something to continue to keep these kids engaged. And while they weren't able to be on the set physically, virtually, we stayed in touch, and we did our Zoom calls from the set, and they were able to see some of the actors and see what was going on. So it was a way, again, to keep them entertained and active. But that's what I'm doing now. I'm making sure that I'm making 2 or 3 films per year and taking advantage of this, very illustrious independent time, and pushing forward with that and then keeping it independent. A lot of times, you want to license your film to this person or that person. And what you don't understand is they don't do any grunt work for you. Now it's all digital. So they push a button, upload it to all the platforms. One button does it all, and they
right.
sit and they wait. But you can do that yourselves. So for me, it is figuring out a way to be independent to where you sort of don't have to take deals that aren't great and
Mm,
go directly to the consumer. There are plenty of people in different areas who, through this, great digital time that we're having, has gone directly to consumer and created a great foundation for themselves and their business and lots of money. And I think with entertainment, it's the same way. You hear about all these music artists who, like Chance the Rapper, is never signed with the label, extremely, extremely successful. You know what I mean? Tech
right.
Nine is also a rapper, and the same with film. You know what I mean? We just feel they have it set up to where we feel we're not successful if their sticker isn't on our film. And you cannot base your success on that. Are you making films? Are people
Right.
enjoying those films? Are you
Mm,
receiving, money and funds from exploiting your films? That's success as a
right.
filmmaker. But in our minds, we feel like we need for this company or that studio to put their name on our film, and then we've made it. And you just have to, retrain your mind. You know what I mean? That this is great independent time. I'll say it again, and you just have to get out there and be smart and make the content. And that's what I'm focused on right now, creating content and getting it direct to the consumer.
That's so inspiring, man. Thank you for saying all that. And that's so true.
Yeah.
The definition of success, what you said, which is as I was saying earlier, the system is set up for failure because it's just
Yeah.
been unfairly set up,
Hmm.
and it's harder for us to get in the game.
Hmm.
So achieving that success, it
Hmm.
just makes it like 100 times harder, I feel. Whereas if we had the definition of success, as you said, about getting your stories told and
Yeah.
people are reaching, those stories are reaching to people, that's already success. And on top of that, you're able to make a living.
Right.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
what more? But I think it's just been set up in a wrong way, like the expectation, like even like I started in this business 5 years, like somehow you feel like unless I'm getting these big labels and big awards and or my films are unless I'm in like a Marvel or DC film or like on this then I have not
Yeah.
made it
No.
somehow, which is
And that's not the case. And some people, because they want to be on this, name brand platform or this, they'll give their film away for a little bit of nothing just to say, hey, look, my film's on such and such. You know what I
right.
mean? When in turn, if you would have did a little work, released it yourselves, you could have made 10 times that money. So you have to readjust what your definition of success is. Is it getting a pat on the head by somebody you feel is you know, important, or are you really trying to make a business for yourself in filmmaking? And for me, I'm
Right.
trying to make a business for myself in filmmaking. So I don't need
Right.
anyone's sticker. That said, if someone wants to come and do business with me, that is a studio, a network, or whatever it may be, I welcome that.
Right.
However, that's not going to be the end and beginning for me. Like you could be a part of what I'm doing when we can partner, but in no way am I asking you, do you like this? And you say no, and then I go back to the drawing board. No.
Right, right. No, I read that on Twitter all the time, and
Yeah.
you've seen that people. Oh, I got this big meeting, and the next thing you're like, oh, they rejected. Now I have to go and find something else. Like
Yeah.
all this year to year because they just had this rejection by this big
Yeah.
network that they thought was their only shot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
this is so valuable what we're sharing here.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody who's hearing this, I hope, and seeing this really gets. If they get one thing, they get this out of this, and that's
Yeah.
why I really admire what you're doing with not
Thank
just the youth, but as the example
you.
you're
Mhm.
setting and the inspiration that you're putting out. It's so amazing. Before I switch gears and just a couple fun questions, do you want to talk a little bit about the you joined Rotary, you mentioned,
Yeah.
and seemed like that's been a very inspiring
Man,
yeah, chapter
these
for you.
these people are simply amazing. And the Rotary, again, their motto is service over self. And the whole thing with them is coming together weekly to figure out how they can assist, help, push the world forward, fix problems. And a lot of people who don't know much about the Rotary, you just feel it's just a bunch of, old rich white men. And at one time it may have been, but not today. And it's not just that. It is people who may be wealthy, but it's also people who live month to month. But what they have in common is they make it a priority to give and help. So these wealthy people could be on an island every week getting fed grapes by, whomever. And
By
these,
dolphins.
yeah, yeah. And then on the other end, these people could be, use that extra money and time and energy to reset, recharge, and do things that they want to do. But no, they've made it a priority to serve the community, serve the world, serve their neighborhoods. And so it's just a different way of looking at things, and we can't go through our entire lives trying to see how much stuff we can get. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, let me see how much stuff I can get, and that's a very empty life what people don't understand. And that's why you see some of these celebrities and entertainers, and you're like, man, it ain't like they had it all. And then you hear about them trying to kill themselves, or they can't get off drugs, or they can't stop drinking. It's
Right.
because there's nothing fulfilling about you seeing how much stuff you can gather. But I promise you, the moment you give without any expectation, there's no better feeling than to just blindly help someone and not expect anything back, not want anything back is the best feeling ever. You know, how I have felt and my projects have taken on since I started Left to Bang and start giving to these youth and trying to inspire them and trying to keep them safe and trying to make their lives better and in turn make the world better. I can't even explain to you what it has done for me and then the work that I do now. It just feels different. And it's just that, thing that when you put your others before yourself and you serve and you're doing something and you have a purpose, it changes your whole life. And then for me, it has done just that. And, the Rotary was a big part of me finding that. And also my mentors, George Antone and Willie Hooks, have been very inspirational. And then a group of friends, a group, finance group that buddies who've become family um, for myself. And it's just really changed my life, man. It's changed my life. And then the glow you get from these youth is just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And a quick story is, I was visiting a neighboring Rotary, um, and there was an ex-police chief there, and he made a comment that it really, really altered my life. He said that at the age of 3, they can predict with 100% certainty that a child will be headed to jail or prison. And I'm waiting to hear what he has to say next because I'm thinking, certainly there has to be more to that statement, but there wasn't, you know? And the reasoning he gave as to how they're able to predict that was he said by the geographical area the child is born into, number of gangs they have to walk through to get to and from school, and whether or not their parents have been to jail or prison. So, this innocent child at the age of 3 who doesn't even know what life is and doesn't possess an ounce of ill will in their bodies, life is limited to death or prison just because the area they're born into, right? And
Mhm.
so I had to ask myself the question, if I had the ability to save this kid's life, would I? And the answer is yes, I would every time. And so that's what Left the Bang Entertainment is. And it's reaching out and connecting with these youth and giving them another option because, using my, celebrity and my friend's celebrity to excite them and entice them and engage them. And then when you crack that surface, it's just layers and layers and layers of mentorship. And so that's sort of, spun off from the Rotary, man, and it has just really fueled me in pushing forward. And then it is also, like I say, when you start to give, the universe just aligns for you. And so it is just transferred into my films and it's just being in a great place.
Wow, no, that's so true, and we were taught that as since our kids, either through religion or through culture or whatever, that how
Mm.
important kindness and giving is, and we tend to forget that. I feel
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
read to my little one, and there's all these stories that exactly tell that, but we tend to forget that
yeah,
the biggest joy is in
yeah,
giving.
yeah,
And you're so true about
yeah,
that. And that's the most important thing you can do, because all this fame and money, I mean,
yeah,
uh where does it take you, right?
yeah, yeah,
The day is the mark that you leave
yeah,
behind you,
yeah. And it's a
which is
different kind of glow you get that just basic fame can never compare to the type of glow you get from impacting lives,
right.
and you might one might not be understand that, but once you commit and doing that, it is just a different kind of glow.
So true, so true. Thank you so much for sharing that. I already feel so inspired,
Mm,
yeah, to continue on my journey of storytelling, and you're
yeah,
inspiring hundreds and thousands of people
yeah,
with your production company and with the work you're doing. So thank you so much for everything you're doing, Brian. And I'll look forward to hearing more, supporting more, and checking out more. Everybody, if you want to check, you can check out the website. That's you'll find a lot of great info. leftofthebankentertainment.com, where all the information and whatever way you can support the initiative. Please do. Please definitely do. And thank you so much, Brian. I really appreciate everything you're doing. So thanks a lot for taking the time, and thank you so much.
yeah. Thank you, and for having me, man, and just keep making your films. And I'll say there's a lot of things, as a filmmaker that distract you and take you off the path, but you have to convert your ideas. When you come up with an idea and you feel strongly, and then you figure out that, hey, what this person said this, or someone's looking for that. If you believe in it, figure out a way to get it done and make it happen. You're creative, you're smart, you're good at what you do. Don't allow the white noise to derail you from what you're doing. That's why I say that project you started, you were onto something. You have to finish that. That's so relevant to right now. You know what I mean? Like you said, well, I figure in a few months it'll be gone. Well, we're not. So to have that done now, just like, oh my gosh, when did he do? When did he do it? I mean, it's just him. He did it it's such a, you know what I mean? So you have to lean into your ideas and what you're doing and complete them, and don't be distracted by the white noise and what everyone else is doing, because again, you remember, we went out and we made a bad movie. you know but it was funny, and it was 90 minutes, and it made $800,000. And again, it wasn't because it was a perfect, it's because we saw it through. And I think it is just a huge lesson in that, and just keep on creating, brother.
Mm, thank you, thank you.